Okay, we are on live. Hello, hello. I'm
Hello.
Hi
Raymond.
guys.
Hi,
How
hi,
are you,
hi.
Raymond?
Okay, I'm Raymond from Idea Lab. This is where we get together and connect the dots. So by getting input from different perspectives and views on the current issues that we are facing. So we have seen that the pandemic have wreaked havoc on the business and also livelihood of people. And Labuan recently has achieved herd immunity, the very first state in the whole Malaysia to achieve it. And now we are on the road of recovery with the Plan Pemulihan Fasa 3. But the question is it on the right track? So 2 weeks ago, we have heard and read about the news about the unfavorable SOP on the shipping industry and how it's impacting them. So today, this session with my panelists, we're going to listen to the views and get their sharing. How is this impacting to the man on the street in Labuan? Okay. First of all, I would like to introduce Daniel Dotti. He is
Hey,
the
thanks.
lead facilitator for Labuan Economic Sector Coalition. And I would like to address Inche Edzal Tahir. He's the CEO of the Mega Port Management. Inche Dol alias is the operation manager for the Mega Port Management. Mr. Anthony Das, the branch manager of Benline Agency, and Brunilla Fung. She is the president of the Labuan Freight Forwarders Association. Welcome. Um, to kickstart the session, I would like first to talk to Daniel about what the overview about this Labuan economic sector coalition. What is it? What's the purpose it was created, and what are your goals?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Raymond. The Labuan Economic Sector Coalition is a newly formed coalition. I receive people who question, is this a registered body or not? But that's not the point because the coalition consists of Labuan Freight Forwarders Association, the Sabah Shipping Agent Association, the Malaysia Offshore Supply Vessel Owners Association. You have also Petronas inside, Labuan Shipyard Engineering, of course, Megaport, who is part of the panelists here. We also have the Asian Supply Base, Sabah Fly and Fitnil, and also Antara Steel. These are some of the giants in the industry in Labuan. And all of them has, when this issue started with regards to the SOP, this inoperable SOP was introduced on the 6th of August. This coalition have, prior to that, there was also challenges. And all of these organizations have already do everything they can to meet up to address this issue. However, it seems like they have reached to a dead end. So it was concluded that it's about time, for the first time ever, it was never done before, that all of these organizations have decided to come together and consolidate, come in as a coalition, as one voice, to actually address the challenges that we have in Labuan. And I was pulled in to assist, to facilitate the discussion, and of course to assist in terms of putting the message across, and also to deal with the related agencies or government agencies. And we've done our bit. We've not said that we didn't do. We have done a lot actually,
Yes.
including all the press statement, all the letters to the government agencies, dealing with those up in the authority, up in federal. We've done quite substantial amount of things in a short period of time to address this issue and create awareness to the public and to the government sector, to the government agencies that, hey, please engage us. No, we want to be involved in coming up with a solution. We are ready to be proactive, and I think that is the basis of it. And I like to not to highlight that we have concluded when we decided to form this coalition, it has to be apolitical. Number one. Number two, our goal is to provide solution. And number three is to see beyond than just the industry, because this is also involved the society at large. So
Right.
these are the terms of reference when we establish this.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel, for that the overview insight. I would like to go to Anthony Das now and ask how is it the current SOP impacting industry from the beginning, the timeline.
Well, thank you, Raymond. The SOP actually started uh, raising up as a problem with the new SOP implemented on the 16th of July, which came in force, restricting foreign vessels calling into Labuan. They have to observe a 14 days quarantine and no crew sign-on, sign-off. So that has been stopped. So subsequently, we represent a domestic vessel calling into Labuan on a weekly basis. She's last spot is Port Klang, next spot is Labuan. Subsequently, it calls to Tawau and Sandakan. She arrived Labuan on the 22nd of July. So we did our formal application to CPRC to get an approval for pre-practic, where the health officer comes on board and they do the health test, and then once we have the clearance, the crew, the vessel is allowed to do the cargo operation. So we were waited for the whole day. In somewhere in late afternoon, we received the message from the CPRC saying that the vessel have to observe a 3 days quarantine before they are allowed to do a free practice. So in that context, when we notified the vessel operator, it was a no-go to them because they cannot afford to wait for a regular liner waiting in the port for 3 days and then disrupting their regular liner call to the subsequent port, which is Sandakan, Tawau, and Port Klang back. Because this is a
So,
container vessel.
so this was not brought to your awareness much earlier. It was
It was
suddenly
not brought. It was not brought
that,
aware to us much
that's
earlier.
really unfair. Okay.
So it was a sudden notice to us, and
Yeah.
with no choice, the vessel operators have to take the drastic decision that they're going to sail out from Labuan without doing any cargo operation. At that instant, we had about 103 units of containers to be discharged in Port Klang, in Labuan.
Okay.
So she made a rotation, and the last port was Sandakan before she goes back to Port Klang. And still, we were attempting with CPRC, saying that can we do a relaxation? We have so many units of containers, essential goods are on board. We gave them all the manifest, but then
Okay.
we failed to achieve our directive in that sense. So the owners decided to offload all the containers in Sandakan. So that was
In
the
Samakan.
scenario in Sandakan. So now we have about 103 containers lying in Sandakan. Most of the consignees here are struggling, to get these containers across. So that got cascaded for the next weekly sailings, and the vessel operator says unless we have a clear directive regulation saying that we will not observe the quarantine, then they will not call into Labuan. So this is the state which we have now. The last 4 weeks, there's no direct calling vessel into Labuan.
So this container is still stuck there. So each who's arranging to get it transport to Labuan? Is it by
Okay.
by lorry trucking it down kind of thing?
You must understand, Labuan is actually a duty-free zone area. There are,
Oh,
there are
okay.
a number of items being imported in as a non-dutiable goods, and then there are also domestic consumables being imported. So in that context, there's a lot of cross-border custom documentation is being mitigated before you are allowed. In
It's not as
addition to
simple
that,
as
cost factor.
mm,
In
it's
addition
not
to
as
that, there's a
simple.
cost factor, additional, land trucking and all those things. This is additional cost implication, which eventually goes down to the end users. So no clear decision has been made because the clearance to have a border crossing is not that easy.
Okay, okay. Now,
Raymond, if you don't mind, can I just
sure,
add a
sure.
bit on
Please,
this?
please interject. Yeah.
There's a lot of confusion,
Yeah.
especially on the public sphere, including some of the leaders, or perhaps the chambers, or whatnot. Right? Generally, I keep on hearing this, that is it really about the 14 to 21 days? This you have to understand. If you backtrack, you have to understand this started much earlier, before the official SOP came out, which is on the 6th of August. So what happened was, because of this unwritten document of the SOP, unwritten, the SOP was basically unwritten. On the 6th, it was official, 6th of August. So they left some bitter taste in everybody's mouth, regards to this, and it's
Right.
already done deal. issues that we need to deal with. However, when they came up with the SOP on the 6th of August, the coalition realized that after much discussion, technical discussion on this, they realized this SOP is still not operable. It's inoperable. It's still not accepted. So this one need to be clear, because often sometimes you see in some of the press it's re-highlighted about 14 to 21 days. It's not about that per se.
Okay.
It's basically the SOP is unacceptable, right? And the only thing when we go deeper in terms of our discussion, the coalition also recognize that there are two parts of the SOP. The one part is the sign on, sign off. All right. The sign on, sign off is generally for the oil and gas industry. The second part is the SOP for kapal, the SOP for shipping, for ships, for the vessels. The sign on, sign off SOP, the LESC, the coalition have declared is a non-issue, right? To balance off the intention, the niat, to ensure there is a balance between life and health, they are willing to let that go. However, the quarantine requirement is not accepted. Right? The quarantine requirement is not accepted because it creates a lot of chain effect, a lot of impact. So this is what I want to add on.
Okay. Thanks, Daniel. Brunella, as the president of the Labuan Freight Forwarders, I'm sure you have a lot of your members highlighting their grievances. Can you share some of that input?
Yeah, I think what has happened is that when they cancel or when the ship decide not to call the port, the freight forwarders have a few things to look into. One, if the cargo has already been declared from an overseas port and the vessels coming in are just feeder vessels, a lot of the documents have already been cleared nationally, internationally, and now we have to adhere to requirements of Customs Act. We have to adhere to all the SOPs that has been created by the different organization, all the government agencies. And when a vessel does not call, you are looking at retract, reverse, locate, and customers are asking you, when am I getting my cargo? And you have no answer. Then we talk about the displacement of the cargo. The cargo that is being sent back to Port Klang, the cargo that is parked in Port Klang, the cargo that is sitting at Sandakan, the cargo that has been transferred to Kota Kinabalu and discharged in Kota Kinabalu ports, all these have timelines that we are talking about. Timelines of 28 August, I think, is the last date. Otherwise, there's going to be an increase in costs. Okay. Now, that is one area. Then if you say, okay, we have changed all the paperwork, let's discharge in Kota Kinabalu port. Then we have the area of who's going to pay the bank guarantee, who's going to come out with the bank guarantee. Customs will say, you want to clear in Kota Kinabalu port, reappointment of agents takes another week or so. I need you, the transporter has to have a bank guarantee. And the goods that's imported to Labuan is not cikai punya goods, It's not a value of 100, 200 bayar cukai tak apalah, It's millions of dollars. Who's going to come out with that type of bank guarantee? Correct? The beauty about Labuan is duty-free port, meaning that things imported in for the oil and gas services, which cost millions, is parked in Labuan because you want to save money. Correct? And Labuan being an industry where we are service industry orientated, where you are talking about at least 80% is oil and gas related, 20% shipbuilding industry with a flow over for the hotels and the tempat makan and the pasar and the housing community. Okay, the locals who have houses to rent out, they make some money. Now ada sewa terima atau tidak pun tak tahu, you know.
Yeah.
But the bottom line here is, as a freight forwarder, I got a lot of homework to do now. Whereas my role before was just barang sampai, I clear the documents, I take the cargo out. Now, I got to add into the cost of customer. You know, your barang arrived in KK, yeah? Now you got to add on another 1,000 plus to bring your cargo to Labuan, you know.
Wow.
And if your barang landed in Brunei and you want to bring across, another 2,000 Brunei dollars, convert 6,000 ringgit. You know, when the consumer say, excuse me, kau ada salah kah? Tidak. Tidak salah. Because why? Barang from KK, you need to have a bond. So the bonded tracking is already 1,800.
Correct.
This is if the trucker has a bond. Kalau dia tak ada, you come out with a bond, you got to go to your bank, get the bond done. Then after that, you punya kerja dah habis, you got to retrieve your bond. Kalau tidak, rugi.
Yeah.
So this inconvenience has a price.
This is because Labuan is a duty free. If Labuan is a non-duty free like KK Port and all, then it would be you don't have required so much documentation.
Correct.
Correct.
But the saddest part as a freight forwarder is when you know, Labuan always import their frozen meat, their frozen goods for the supermarkets and stuff. The perishable items which has permit to import for Labuan, permit that has an expiry date, and then all of a sudden they say my goods on that vessel belum sampai, bos. Saya punya kota boleh kasih extend kah? And these permit are all applied online. It's not something you go to the office chop sign. It's applied online. If that expires, that means they have to bayar balik, apply balik.
Then that costs a lot of money.
That's going to cost money.
Okay.
Then that is consumer, that is the retailers lah, the retailers or the importers or the wholesalers, correct? Then dia punya permit bukan satu tempat saja dia kena bayar. There could be a few agencies they have to go through. Okay, that's one. Two, perishable items. They are maybe ice cream kah, meat kah, you know. The standard in Sandakan. Kalau Sandakan ada blackout, ada current kah? Saya punya meat itu kalau datang sampai Labuan in 2 months time, masih boleh makan kah?
Yeah.
Those are the questions nobody thought about.
Yes.
Okay? Or maybe since the thing already arrived, I cannot do anything with it. I sedekah lah, pergi hospital lah. Pergi hospital mau kah tidak?
I hope okay.
I mean, we're trying to think.
Yeah.
Perishable items. I don't like to make sure it's transferred. Even as a freight forwarder, when I take ice cream out or I take chocolates out, I got to make sure that the vessel arrived the next morning. I take it out already, you know.
Yeah. You know, it will be.
I got to make sure that I get it out within a very short span of time. Correct? Otherwise, the chocolate cannot be sold anymore.
True.
Jadi mus sudah. You know? So, these are the things whereby people think, oh, freight forwarder punya kerja senang saja. No. When we have a problem, an issue like this, then we have to go back to the customer and say, boss, you know, kau punya container itu hari punya landed in Sandakan, now it's going to cost you another 3,000, 6,000 ringgit one unique container, no. You know how loud the chambers can make noise kah?
Yeah, I know. That's money ba. That's money going down the drain.
That's money ba. Siapa nak bayar?
Correct.
So let's look at it from that point of view lah, the cost.
Yeah, the cost. Uh,
I,
this I would like
Raymond,
to. Yeah, sure,
Raymond,
sure.
sorry, just a quick one. If you
Yeah.
were to look at the cost itself, I would like to bring into perspective of how example of one of our members like in the coalition. So now assuming based on the 6th August, the SOP, based on that 6th August SOP, if we will work on that basis, right? We work
Okay.
on the basis. So now assuming there is something that was supposed to come in. So there is a vessel coming in from Ladatu, go to Labuan, all right? And that journey time takes around 2 days. So based on the 6th of SOP, you're required to do quarantine for 7 days, all right? Including the journey time, it is also treated as a SOP. These are the new
Oh
thing
yes.
that was said by the authority, that this is after consideration. Okay, this is what they say, after consideration. So they put in 2 days as consideration as a quarantine. So when they reach to Labuan, you got 5 days, correct?
Okay.
All right. So 5 days. The goal perhaps is to do the RTK test or whatnot lah. You know, what's required by KKM lah. But these 5 days, you still need to pay something called the MERS charges. The MERS charges for this one, for them particularly, is 25,000 per day. Sounds like a small
Twenty-five
amount.
thousand ringgit or US.
25,000 USD per day.
Wow.
All right. So you times 5 and you times the amount of currency, that's a lot. If you are the owner, you are the shareholder, how long can you tahan? Because you need to get this thing coming in all the time now. And you have a plan to process this. You see? So these are kind of the challenges that perhaps when policy was made, it was not in consideration. You see? So yeah, these are the additional things that I want to.
You
Yeah,
mentioning
but
25,000 per day. At the end of the day, who is going to absorb it?
who? I mean, for example, like an ordinary item, it's not a control item. Of course, the consumer have to absorb it. But if it's item that is under the control item list, they couldn't raise up the price.
Correct.
If they don't raise up the price, as a shareholder and owner, what do? You have no choice but to halt operation. Halt operation means, what do you do next? You have to consider thinking about pay people less, right? You cut cost cutting, right?
Yes.
Or the other next option, maybe you have to do retrench. But these are part of the option that's already been considered. And this will affect not just one company, but so many other companies in Labuan. Why? Because within the supply chain, a lot of people are involved as well, from the
That's right.
suppliers to the retailers and all that. A lot of people say, this is a bit difficult. So if you put all of this amount together, the impact is actually really huge. Just because of one policy, a policy that is not being implemented throughout the nation. Only Labuan.
Only Labuan.
That's the thing. Only Labuan. So yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. Is the SOP in place in Labuan more stringent, more regulated compared to the other ports?
In a place that already have herd immunity,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
When other places, other port area do not have herd immunity, yet they are so much more looser in the SOP.
It
Now,
doesn't make sense actually.
I'm trying to work out the logic for the past months. I couldn't figure it out.
Okay. Same here. Miss Encik Izal, I would like to tanya sama you. We can mix English bahasa also can. Since tidak banyak kapal sudah masuk in your port there, so I'm sure that will affect kau punya revenue. So how are you managing that?
Ya, Daniel, thank you. Okay, sebenarnya kita maklum perkapalan berhubung kait dengan ekonomi. So kalau SOP yang sekarang ni menyebabkan kapal-kapal tidak datang ke Labuan. Jadi ini menyebabkan halo.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okey, menyebabkan perniagaan terjejas. Mungkin sebab semua berhubung kait dengan perkapalan.
Betul.
So, mungkin dari industri-industri yang macam contohnya oil and gas kan, yang bergantung pada kapal-kapal yang menghantar barang-barang keperluan untuk oil and gas. Jadi kalau SOP ini berterusan macam ni kan, mungkin besar kemungkinan pemilik-pemilik kapal tidak akan datang ke Labuan. Jadi ini akan menyebabkan mungkin bisnis di Labuan menanggung kerugian. Dan dari segi kaki tangan pekerja-pekerja swasta yang terlibat dengan oil and gas yang berkaitan dengan perkapalan mungkin terjejas. Seperti yang kita tahu, Labuan mungkin 70% adalah pekerja swasta. Dan ini yang semua pekerja ini bergantung kepada oil and gas. Because Labuan sekarang ekonomi adalah oil and gas. Jadi kalau SOP ni, kedatangan kapal ni macam ni berterusan, mungkin peniaga-peniaga akan gulung tikar. Jadi ini akan mengakibatkan pekerja di Labuan mungkin kemungkinan menghadapi pemotongan gaji atau pengurangan pekerja. So yang tanggung rakyat Labuan. Jadi kalau boleh kita kaji SOP ini bagi untuk permudahkanlah untuk aktifkan ekonomi Labuan balik supaya yang sektor yang berkaitan dengan perkapalan ini boleh survive, boleh teruskan.
Ya, thank you Encik Ijal.
Kalau
ada like
okay, kalau tidak mungkin ini akan menyebabkan pembuangan pekerja ataupun pengurangan gaji kan. Jadi ini yang kita takut. Yang pekerja swasta. Lainlah kalau yang macam pekerja kerajaan, ini mungkin tidak terjejas. Mungkin dalam setiap bulan selagi ada kerajaan, selagi ada gaji. Tapi yang swasta ni, kalau pihak majikan mengambil keputusan untuk mengurangkan pekerja ataupun mengurangkan gaji, jadi yang terjejas adalah pekerja swasta. Jadi ramai di kalangan rakyat Labuan, semua pekerja swasta.
Tapi ramai juga syarikat-syarikat logistik yang juga bergantung kepada megaport untuk bisnes.
Ya, mungkin dalam Labuan mungkin bergantung sebagai port operator Labuan. So kami pun bergantung kepada kedatangan kapal ke Labuan. Tiada kapal bermakna tiada pekerjaan lah, tiada apa. Jadi sektor-sektor industri lain yang bergantung kepada pelabuhan kan, so mungkin mengalami keadaan yang sama kerana kapal tidak datang.
Ya. Terima kasih Encik Izal.
Can I just add that Mr. Raymond, number one, dia bukan lagi kemungkinan kapal tidak datang, kapal memang tidak mau datang. Kita sudah maklum. Kapal memang tidak mau datang. Karena ini SOP lah, kan? Number two is that it's so often that people selalu berfikir yang ini shipping SOP ni dorang terfikir pasal dia pelabuhan di Labuan saja. Actually tidak. A lot of people misunderstand. Asal banyak industri sektor macam oil and gas, kan itu industri sektor oil and gas. Macam kapal-kapal di pelabuhan, of course banyak barang-barang yang masuk pun, of course it's from container daily yang essential goods semua yang akan datang. Diorang punya the procedure and the works of how they operate are very different. So tidak boleh, masalah sekarang diorang selalu generalize. Kalau ada case,
oh sorry. Oh, Daniel is disconnected. Okay, we continue. Encik Du.
Yes.
Selamat tengah hari.
Selamat tengah hari.
So, saya mau tanya. So, how is the current SOP affecting your operation at the port?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much to Raymond and also other members of the panel. So, saya mau tambah sikit. Hari ini adalah hari yang ke-32. On the 32nd day, we don't have any vessel coming in.
32nd, wow.
Yeah, it's a long time. So,
Long time.
This environment is an unfamiliar environment to us as a port operator. Okay, we consider this is the most pelabuhan yang paling sunyi sekali di Malaysia.
Oh.
Right. With this SOP, we the operation staff, satu is the unfamiliar environment, and then the second is when is the vessel coming? This is the question we ask.
Yes.
We ask, we discuss among ourselves, and then when this vessel coming in, especially the containerized vessel and the cargo vessel, and then when we go out, our relative, our friends out there keep asking us, when are the vessel coming? We can answer them because of the SOP. Okay, with that SOP, with that quarantine, definitely the major liners will skip Labuan. So except after 32nd day, so the cargo vessel MV Eponima is coming at last. Okay, from JB. Expected to berth on the 4th of September. And then with 3 days or 2 days operation, and then they depart.
But they have to comply to the current SOP. If there's no change in the SOP.
Yes.
So which means
including the voyage from JB to Labuan 3 days, 4 days, and then continue again 3 days. So make up of 7 days.
I
After
see.
7 days, on the 8th day, then only to port, and then discharge the cargo. So we are not sure when is the containerized vessel coming in.
Okay.
If no change of the SOP, I don't think within a short period this vessel will call to Labuan. Maybe Mr. Anthony will reconfirm the position now, the current situation involving the major liners.
Thank you, Encik Do.
Thank you.
Sorry guys.
Welcome back, Daniel.
I got disconnected. I think because my phone is overheating. Not just the issue is heated. My phone also is already overheating. So, but I just like to add on. My apology just now. I just like to add on this. Number one is they should stop generalizing because the SOP is currently is too tight. When they look at it, shipping, they generalize everything. Oil and gas is different. So oil and gas processes and SOP has to be different, right? But if you look at the impact, we highlighted the impact in regards to the vessel that's coming in, have to pay the marriage charges. Everybody highlighted the impact of nanti ada buang kerja lah, nanti ada. These are known concern lah, right? But I also received news on the a company who handles the scheduled waste have stopped business now. Why? Because the waste in the yard has overflown and already threatened by the DOE. Nanti kena saman. Okay, so they have to stop receiving waste because they cannot send the waste out. So these are some of the challenges. No, you see the thing when it comes to logistics, everything is interconnected, and Labuan is as such an island, right? You can, if the moment at the moment Labuan, if you compare it to an airway, if you put pebbles and sand in your airway, everything will die, everything will stop, everybody will get sick, and it's just signs, early signs and concern that Labuan is getting sicker because of this one single SOP, right? And so these are the things that I think I have missed out because of my phone overheating lah. But I need to address this, you know, because this is the truth, right? That's all we can do. We can just expose the truth, and the people need to know.
Correct.
I think, like, to add on to what Daniel just said.
Yeah, sure.
Going back to what I said about the permits, correct? Now, as Daniel has said, all the ways that you can export out, it can only go by a certain mode that's allowed in the permit. So applies to a lot of the cargoes that we import into Labuan, that says that we can only enter this product for this specific company for a specific port only. We cannot just say, oh, tak apalah, this item we can go through Sandakan ka, KK ka, whatever it is, then come to Labuan. Tak boleh. Because the permit doesn't allow. So if they use other means of coming in and they get caught, they got more headache. So these are the things whereby they don't look at. Seaport is a seaport. There is a reason for seaport. We are connected seaport with MOF. We are connected with the permits in all the other government agencies. We are connected with customs.
Correct.
The port of clearance. Take, for example, now I can give you a live clearance happening now, whereby the vehicle was declared for Labuan Port. Custom documents all done for Labuan Port. Okay. Tiba-tiba they said, oh, because Labuan Port is closed, my option to you is we divert to Kota Kinabalu, you take out from Kota Kinabalu. But they didn't realize that documents semua cleared for Labuan Port. Customs in Kota Kinabalu cannot clear the cargo. Then you got to go back to KL. Can you please go see the custom officer at Port Klang and tell him to change the port of discharge? The paperwork has to change. So this kind of cycle, the person who sits doing the SOP, he doesn't know anything about it. He's not responsible for it. But he has created a big hole for everybody to now have to cover up, to sort it all out. See? So what we're trying to say is, please talk to the other group of people who are involved in the seaport, because the Labuan port doesn't come alive because of one person. You must have the importers, you must have the transporters, you must have the logistic players. Then the port comes alive. When the port comes alive, it shows you that the economy of the place is coming alive. Yes, your excuse is, saya tidak tutup airport. Airport masih boleh masuk barang. Tapi airline hanya kan boleh angkat limited quantity of products. Bukan semua barang boleh naik aircraft. A good example I can give you is lithium battery.
Lithium has to be by ship.
If you import it by the bulk, it has to come by ship. If you import it by air, it cannot come in. It's prohibited. Malaysia Airlines tak boleh angkat lithium battery.
It's under dangerous goods, I believe.
It's under dangerous goods. So understand that there's a lot of things that can and cannot be done by air that you need the sea.
See, yeah.
Okay, like explosive for the oil and gas industry. Certain class can only come by sea freight, cannot come by air freight. Orang yang buat SOP tidak tahu.
Yeah.
Yang tahu is not involved.
This I want to I want to put the next question to Anthony, since we talked about the ship. Hey, Mr. Anthony, do you see in your schedule the ships that's supposed to come in to Labuan? Is the next 2 months, 3 months?
Anthony, you're mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Raymond. The schedules for these for Labuan has been omitted indefinitely until the vessel operators has been convinced that the quarantine requirement is been revoked. Then they will revive the schedule back into Labuan.
Wow, that's a lot of loss of revenue if there's no changes to the SOP.
Indeed,
I mean,
it is.
Well, you mentioned that there was also consideration by oil and gas company who is considering to move the operation elsewhere. One in Miri, the other one in KK. So if they actually decide to move, just imagine the implication, the supply chain, the support services that given to this oil and gas operation. So a lot of people, the implication is huge. I mean, you need to really calculate it.
Yeah, during the COVID time, a lot of businesses are quickly restructuring in terms of economic losses, especially all the expenses. The moment they can identify all these unnecessary escalating costs, there will be drastic actions made in terms of moving to another optimum location. And having known Labuan is predominantly depend on oil and gas sector, the vessel port need to be operated. There is a lot of drilling materials, equipments, not only coming and hubbing up into Labuan, but then it is also being shared out to all the other close regions like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. And that is why we call here Asian supply base, not ASEAN supply base. It's an Asian supply base.
Correct.
So it is very critical that the SOP is been reviewed and the domestic carriers and the international carriers can resume their calling into Labuan.
Correct.
Mr. Raymond, I want to highlight something. This issue, let's be honest, this issue is not just the Labuan Economic Sector Coalition, the members. This is not just the members' issue, right? As big as a lot of this organization is, it's not their issue alone, because we have also received a signature drive by hardware companies, list of different companies, hardwares, supermarket, kedai runcit, the suppliers. They all have come up with a signature drive and presented to us, and in support of our effort to bring in solution to work with the government. So that is the intent. We also seen a poll that is ongoing. I don't know who started the poll, but the poll has suggested that the SOP is not favorable as well by the public or by the community. So these are people who understood the problem. That's the reason why they support it. Labuan, we have seen the rise and fall of Labuan over and over again, when it comes to the economic. But we cannot allow, because of one thing, we go back the craze, we cannot allow that, because to get back a lot of the business back in Labuan is not an easy task. So that's the reason why the LAIC have come together, and we wanting to give a solution. We have proposed solution such as the contactless protocol. To activate contactless protocol, we encourage the KKM, for example, to work closely with the Department of Safety and Health. Because the industry player is working closely with Department of Safety and Health. Perhaps if they can come together and establish a protocol that is suited for different needs For example, like the commercial cargo goods, like in MPM, and oil and gas in Asian Supply Base, in Antara Steel, in SSFM. Everybody everybody have different processes. But if the contactless protocol can be established based on the needs of everyone, perhaps that is one alternate solution to prevent contacts, to manage the risk of virus spreading, right? Because that is the intent. My point is this: at the end of the day, the industry player, the intention, the niat, the nawaitu is there. They want to fix this together, and all they ask is, let's come together and sit down on the table and find a solution. It's super crucial. You cannot come up with a solution if there is a lot of assumption and little knowledge or technical knowledge to fix it. So I mean, more heads are better than just one, right? Isn't it? So this is what we're asking for, lah. Generally, this is what the LASC is begging, practically begging, for a solution.
Thank you. Inche Dul, since you're in operation, I'm going to ask you, just now that Daniel was mentioning about the contactless protocol. Is your port ready to implement that if needed?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. If you refer back the workflow when vessel coming in, there is no contact at all with our operation staff and then the ship crew. There is no contact. All right. After the port help done by the KKM on the ship crew, and then that's it. Okay. And then we start the operation. So it's between the stevedoring and our staff. Our staff at the jetty, and then the stevedoring up there in the cargo deck. So everyone has their scope of work. So there is no contact at all. Even we highlight to the KKM. So if you were to the last vessel, 22nd of July, MTT Pulau Pinang. So before that, another vessel, MTT Tanjung Manis. Took us 2-3 days, then start operation. So we inquired with the KM. So this officer, they are helpless because they are accountable, answerable to their superior.
They cannot give the clear direction what to do.
Yeah, their job is to do the port help and then issue the cert. Then we can start operation. If no KKM, so no operation.
Is
Even the stevedoring also cannot go up into the vessel.
Sorry, is your port operation 24 hours or is it
Yeah, it's 24 hours.
So it's KKM 24 hours.
That's another question. Because they cannot entertain vessel because of lack of staff.
No. They have enough staff, sir. They have enough staff because they apparently, from the news I received, they have sent some of the staff to Sandakan or to Tawau to assist. I think
yes.
So I think they need to reprioritize the intention lah. Allow me to just give you an update of the recent. I mean, LASC have done quite substantial amount of work in terms of trying to communicate the grievances or communicate the issue to the authority, even up to federal level. So there's a lot of groundwork that has been established. Letters have been sent out, communication has been established, and I see some response, very positive response from the current government. There is the intent to actually work this out. That one, where credit is due, we need to give. However, I would like to. What I found out is that there is a possibility of maybe it's just PCR, no need quarantine. But these are some of the things that we need to discuss further because the coalition need to determine will the vessel still come in if that is just the requirement. The one we couldn't conclude yet because this is still unofficial, right? This answers is unofficial. But one thing for sure is that If I were to play devil advocate, now assuming I am the authority, I'm the JBPD or KKM in Labuan, and I concluded with that, if we were to put in just PCR, maybe it could work. Maybe it could work for companies that is big, Petronas or whatnot. They have enough buffer to sustain themselves. But the commercial goods, based on its operation, maybe you don't need them. So these are the kind of input that a discussion should have. You know, that the engagement should be established. Only then we can actually see a way forward to this issue, because we, regardless of whatever decision is made, the only thing that is sure right now is that from LSC point of view is that the current SOP that was established on the 6th of August is inoperable. They cannot use it.
Correct. Anything to add on from your side, Tunela?
Let's ask ourselves a question. All along in the ship movement industry, correct? Every ship that calls needs a port health clearance, correct? Anthony, am I wrong to say that? Every vessel that calls into Labuan waters, you need the port health to give clearance.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Now, all the documents are actually forwarded to the port health 48 hours before for them to screen through already.
Yes.
Now, if they have already screened through that, if they have anything to add on, it would be from them, bukan KKM. Because as far as seaport is concerned, a ship owner is only responsible to Marine Department and the port health. Other hierarchy, yes. So this all started when KKM says no, port health, you report to me, you listen to me. And if I say no, you tak boleh naik kapal.
If you ignore, they will summon you.
So in this particular case, in as much as you have a system, you literally took the whole system out as far as Labuan is concerned. Whereas all the other ports still use the same system they've been using from the beginning until today. Port health clearance is the number one requirement before a vessel can even go alongside.
Correct.
So these are the things whereby we are taking away something which belongs to one department and giving it to another department because of fear, and then we create more fear and we destabilize the whole economic cycle for within the island.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody had cargo coming in, planning, paid in advance to Europe, to wherever it is, nak complete the repair of the vessels that's on dock. The dock time could be 3 days waiting for this to come in, and then all of a sudden barang tak masuk. They've been there for how many weeks waiting because they cannot, they tersangkut. It's like you getting your car into a workshop, your spare part engine, the whole engine is in that, and you cannot take your car out.
Yeah.
Correct. So this
Correct.
is what's happening in our local industry at the moment. The shipbuilding industry, the oil and gas industry, all these are all the companies, are all the industries that are supporting our island.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think this show is our last call lah. Kalau tidak boleh lepas orang punya otak, I also don't know what we're going to do anymore.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you.
that-
Good. Encik Ijal, anything you nak tambah?
Okey, saya harap kepada yang berwajib yang mengeluarkan SOP yang sekarang ni supaya dikaji balik untuk tiada halangan kapal masuk ke Labuan untuk meneruskan ekonomi yang melibatkan, yang berhubung kait dengan perkapalan. Karena supaya ekonominya terus kembang, and then pekerja-pekerja terus bekerja dan tidak mungkin menanggung pemotongan gaji ataupun pembuangan pekerja. Itu yang kita mau.
Yeah.
So untuk kekalkan ekonomi Labuan dan pekerja semua boleh survive, tidak ada yang kena buang, tidak kena potong gaji.
Yep.
Jadi kalau kita SOP ni kekalkan macam ni, mungkin pemain industri yang berkaitan dengan perkapalan ni mungkin tidak lama akan tutup ataupun pindah ke tempat lain.
Ya.
Jadi
Terima kasih.
saya harap SOP itu mesti ada keseimbangan dengan kesihatan dan ekonomi. Itu yang penting.
Ya. Thank you, Ijal.
Okay.
Encik Dul, ada apa-apa mau tambah?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Raymond. We just hope these relevant authorities, they need to review the SOP. They need to review the SOP. If not, things will be bad.
We may not see it now, but I think it's coming soon.
Good.
There's no change. Thank you, Encik Dul. I think we have seemed to lost Miss Anthony.
Maybe his phone have overheated. Yeah. Just like mine lah.
If it comes on in, we will put him on. But is there anything that you want to add on, Daniel?
I think our overview, perhaps to sum it up,
Yeah, to sum it up.
Well, number one is I take note just now that what Dul has mentioned, the vessel economy is coming. All right, for this one time. The only reason why they come because they went through a cycle and they need to actually deliver. But they are eventually surcharged. They still need to pay on, and this surcharge still goes to the consignee. You see, and it still goes back to the people who have to pay extra. And if this is the way we're going to continue and operate, we will be eventually paying extra compared to the other port. Now, let's consider and give them, the authority, the benefit of the doubt. Because kita ni orang baik-baik, niat baik-baik. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Assuming this is the best SOP in the world. Assuming this is the best SOP in the world. Right? Because we already achieved a place that already have herd immunity, we do not want to experience lah. Apparently, they want to experience again. So, if this is the best, I would suggest that this SOP is presented nationwide. It's the best, then nationwide deserve the best. Why limit it to Labuan? Why discriminate it to Labuan? Give it the best to the whole nation. That is what they should be doing because kita niat baik. We want the best for Malaysia. So please execute this SOP throughout the country. I assure you, this will be a national issue. I assure you, this will be a big problem. But because kita mau the best, please lah execute to the nationwide. That's how I look at it lah, my perspective.
Thank you for sharing. Looks like we have come to a close. Anthony is still not around. I believe that all of you work very closely together. So you all, everything, all the problem and concern has been highlighted in this session. And I'm glad because as a person outside that I don't, macam the man on the street, I now begin to see a lot of things that I don't know. So what I read, I only know that's a very, very surface level. And I'm glad that we do this together to create awareness and hopefully the people of Labuan will take note of this and also to talk to the relevant agencies to make sure there is a change. So,
All right.
Can
Yeah.
I add on just a little bit? It's like
Sure,
Daniel said, you know,
Yeah.
there are a lot of work done by a lot of different group of people who has helped put this all together.
Right.
And I like to thank everyone for actually, although we tersangkut at the seaport with a lot of things that tak masuk-masuk lah, you know, I am very happy to note that until today, we actually, no natural disaster has happened as of yet. Macam DOE, he says, you collecting all this waste material,
Yes.
you got to put a stop to it already. Otherwise, you get an overflow, then a natural disaster happen. The oil and gas industries, they played their role. Okay, I have to pay that extra money to get the thing by a charter vessel in or out, by hook or by crook. If I have to pay that extra money, I pay because I cannot afford a natural disaster. All these were never thought of when the decision was made. But the ones behind the scene, the ones who have put in so much effort, you know, they have to think of an alternative way of sorting out to prevent a natural disasters. And we are seeing natural disasters happening left, right, and center. Can you imagine sekarang kalau Labuan terkandung dalam natural disaster?
No way to run.
Not just no way to run, hospital pun tak ada.
Correct.
You know, so
Yeah,
this is what we've been praying for, and we hope that all the efforts that has been put out by the relevant parties who have been working very hard to sustain, you know, so much is been put in the last 50 years to build Labuan up, you know. It's not just overnight punya. Nama Labuan bukan overnight. Labuan's name, the Labuan duty free port took a long time for the people to sell. Correct? Don't just because of
all this pandemic and
all
all the effort
and
done.
all this thing and all our effort gone. I mean,
Correct.
we are talking about the jambatan. Jambatan always comes out every 4 years lah. But the economy is not about the jambatan. The economy is about, sekarang kalau you ada jambatan pun you tak boleh limpas jambatan. It has been proven to us. You got the jambatan, you are creating more issues, correct? So let's pray that whatever the decision made, it has to be very fast so that the industries can go back. I'm not saying it's easy to reverse 2 months of hard work for everybody to strategize, but I think all these people needs a pat on their back and says, you have done what you could. Thank you very much.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, true.
So with that, I want to personally thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Angel, Entedol, Prunella, Anthony Das for making this happen, and and sharing your information to get a better, clearer understanding. So see you all, and I hope that whatever you guys are doing now is going to pay off soon.
For Labuan people.
Yes, for Labuan people, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
Bye. See you.